that, and like that last statement that Joe made, their statements were always so powerful. They were just concerned about their daughter. That is all that mattered to them. That was, hold on, let me close this door. She was always their top priority. Um, and like Sifa said, it's amazing to see how strong her parents were through this whole thing. Um, and then I'm gonna get ready to show a couple things here in a minute that Sifa was able to help me get some different content that I'm going to show you guys. Haley says they would have victims of the circumstances as well because you'd mourn your child in prison, but often parents who do this create the monsters over time. Right, and that's the thing. It's like it's hard to know. We don't know anything about his childhood. We don't know anything about anything he went through, how his parents raised him. But when you see parents acting in the way that they did, it just makes you question a lot of things. Um, like I said, I don't understand it. I never will. To this day, I just don't get how they never said a word, not to press, not to the family, not to anyone. So, okay, give me a moment. I'm going to mute for a second so I can pull up. So, from the Moab stop, um, I have one of the witness statements. So the witness that called in that was mentioned in the body cam footage that said he witnessed Brian, I think it said he slapped Gabby or he hit Gabby. I don't remember the exact wording, so don't quote me. But I do have the other witness's statement that Sifa was able to get. So I'm going to pull that up. Just give me a moment to pull it up. Okay, I'm back. Um, hey, Missy, welcome in. Haley, and I hope I would have recognized the dangerous relationship before they even left for their trip and addressed it. Right. And that was the thing, though. There were statements where, if you guys watched like the 2020 episodes, I think the Dr. Phil episodes, where they asked the parents, how was their relationship before? And like none of them had any suspicions of Brian. Nothing seemed off to them about him. So that that spoke volumes. Like he was obviously not showing who he truly was, at least in front of the parents. Now, later on, down the road, as we've learned, her best friend Rose, which I absolutely love, I had found her on TikTok when she created a TikTok. She was able to speak on the many times that Gabby had to go to her house to get away from Brian, that they were in a fight or he was treating her horribly. And Rose was her best friend, and that was her getaway. That was her safe space. But yeah, so he did have some ugly ways, and unfortunately, Gabby was very young. She didn't see the signs. I mean, a lot of us have probably been there, or we know someone who has been, and you don't see the signs immediately. You don't pick up on them, or the love is what you think is love is actually so strong that it's blinding, and you just put up with it because you think they're going to change one day. Little lady was getting the critters sucked in for the night, and they're worse than kids with blanket adjustments. Well, welcome in, Sugar and Spice. All right, let me get these articles. I mean, these, all All right, number one. Now I'm gonna have to blow it up. Okay, so how does this look on the screen? Small?
Yeah.
It doesn't look that small on the. Yeah, love bombing, exactly, Tiffo. On my side it looks big, but oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Oh my gosh. You know, we always gotta have some kind of technical difficulties. Okay, here it is. I'll make it a little bit bigger. All right, that's all I got. So this was 8/12/2021. The time was 4:30 p.m. and all it has is the guy's name was Chris. And his information. He has I'm sure a lot of statements look like this. I've seen a few. You're writing in a hurry, so I'm going to try to read it as best as I can. But he says at approximately 4:30 p.m., I arrived at Moonflower. While standing on the south side of the street, oh God, what's that word, Siffa? Can you tell? I don't know. I guess I observed. Yeah, I observed a man and woman appear to have some sort of dispute. They were talking aggressively at each other, and something seemed off. At one point, they were sort of fighting over a phone. I think he maybe took the female's phone. It appeared that he didn't want her in the white van. He got into the driver's seat and she followed him. At one point, she was punching him in the arm and or gosh, something and trying to get into the van. And now let me pull up the second one. Doo-doo. All right. So then it continues. She actually climbed in over him and over to the passenger seat. I heard her say, "Why do you have to be so mean?" I wasn't sure how serious this was. It was hard to tell if they were something or play fighting, serious or play fighting. But from my point of view, something definitely didn't seem right. It was as if the guy was trying to leave her and maybe take her phone. Not sure, but wanted her phone. No, not sure, but wanted to help out. I noticed another person had called this in, and as I left the store, I noticed the police officer and gave him my contact info. So that was one of the statements from one of the guys that witnessed the fight at the Moonflower. Let me catch up on chat real quick. Jeez, I'm way behind. Yes, nobody truly knows just how terribly different someone is behind closed doors. That is 100% facts. We really don't know. To be honest, most people wouldn't, especially with Joe. Okay, my son is so loud, y'all. Excuse him. I've always adored him, but I've always sensed that feeling of Joe is not the one to try, right? Try Jesus, not Joe. I got that feeling too. I even had speculations about certain things because I was like, Um, hey TF, welcome in. Yeah, okay, thank you, Sifa. In the arm and or face. Yeah, that makes more sense. It's hard to read them. It fell off the screen when I was reading it. What in the world? Hey, Michael, how are you and how are you feeling? It was so alarming that the witnesses had to make a written report. Well, no, I mean, that's pretty common. Like if they called it in, I guess, they wanted to have it on paper. I mean, I'm glad they did. But I'm gonna move to my room because as you can hear, my son is really loud, so give me 2 minutes. All right, I'm back. Can y'all hear me? Sifa? Can chat hear me? Yeah, okay, thank you, Doug. And I also have like my own notes that I took during this case where I have like a really detailed timeline. I don't have it in front of me right now. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I need one that's
I don't have a different one. That's the only one I have. Okay. This is the Gabby Petito's disappearance timeline article I found. Okay. And they kind of went over it in the other videos, but I just wanted to play this one, show this one because it does speak about a little about like their history. So the early days of their relationship, Petito and Laundrie met in high school, Petito's mother said, and announced their engagement last year. Brian asked me to marry him, and I said yes, Petito wrote on Instagram. You make life feel unreal, and every day is such a dream with you. Petito of Blue Point, New York, later moved to Northport, Florida to live with Laundrie, Petito's mother, Nicole Schmidt, said. This year's road trip wasn't Petito's first. She documented a western-bound trip on Instagram in 2019. In a January 2020 post, she said driving across the country to California and Oregon was an absolute dream. And in May of 2020, she posted that she couldn't wait to get back to traveling the world with Laundrie. She waited to cross the country in the camper van and live the van life and live free. This was her dream, Schmidt told NBC affiliate KSL. So okay, they start their road trip in July, and they documented everything. So a footprint indicates that they drove about 3,800 miles to Kansas, Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming before Petito was reported missing. In a blurb on the couple's sole YouTube video, they noted they had traveled together before. So that was what we saw in her video. Hold on a second. Everything that can possibly go wrong today for my life is going wrong. Rocky is trying to eat my lip gloss. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is just a little map of like their cross country trip, all the places they went, the Great Sand Dunes, and then where her van was eventually found. The areas in Utah that they visited. Okay, and this speaks about the August 12th stop. This is probably the full video, so we're not gonna. If anybody's interested in this link, I can drop it. Does anybody? Because I don't know if playing the body cam footage is. I mean, we've all seen it, and it's heartbreaking. So in the body cam footage, it showed an officer talking to Laundry and an emotional Petito after authorities pulled over the van. Petito could be seen wiping away tears as she told the responding officer she was struggling. "I'm sorry," Petito said after the officer asked why she was crying. "We've just been fighting this morning, some personal issues." Laundry added, "It was a long day. We were camping yesterday." When the officer asked Laundry about scratches on his face, he responded, "She had her phone and was trying to get the keys from me. I said, let's just step back and breathe, and she got me with her phone." I don't see how a phone could have scratched his face like that. I think it was probably her fingernails, but that's just my own thoughts. Yeah, Haley, that's what I'm saying. I don't find it necessary to play it and go over it because that video broke me. And then the second part, the second officer's body cam footage that came out, yeah, I can't. I have one little clip from there that it just breaks my heart. So I'll just read it instead. Okay, so in the days after the Moab incident, Petito's communications with her family stopped. Schmidt said the couple left Salt Lake City for Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming around August 24th. So before I go on, I'm going to pull up. Hold on, I have so many bookmarks. Sifa, that thing you sent me, I was going over it and it's like very detailed, but I can like pull it up and just give a outline kind of what it's about. Like the investigation into Moab. That part that you sent me.
Why can't you pull it up?
I can. I'm gonna find it. I'm just not reading the whole entire thing.
Oh,
It's like so many pages.
you want the short version? I have
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And while you do that, I'm gonna find this link. Okay, here it is. Okay. While Sifa is looking for that, I'm gonna talk about whenever he decided, Brian Laundrie, after the Moab stop, he decided to fly home during a cross-country trip. This article came out October 6th, so we were still learning things, but I don't want to watch that body cam footage. Okay, so the lawyer for Brian Laundrie's family has confirmed that the 23-year-old fugitive returned home from his road trip with Gabby to Florida for supplies before rejoining his fiance in Utah 2 days before she was last heard from. I've always wondered, what kind of supplies did he go home for? What was this storage locker about? Like, those are the things that we never really did get information completely about. And maybe we will. We're not privy to everything. But that was just something that was really never clear. It wasn't really talked about much, like what happened during his trip home. But it says, attorney Stephen Bertolino's statement, which was obtained by People, says that Laundrie returned to Northport, Florida home on August 17th and gathered supplies and cleared out a rented storage unit before flying back to Salt Lake City on August 23rd, where he reunited with Petito. Her body was found at a remote campsite in Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Officials have deemed her death a homicide, gosh, but have yet to reveal how she was unalived. Let's see. So Brian flew home to obtain some items and empty and close the storage unit to save money as he and Petito contemplated extending the road trip. To my knowledge, Brian and Gabby paid for the flights as they were sharing expenses. Petito was left behind in Utah. Laundrie's flight back to Florida was 5 days after police were called after the couple were seen fighting. A 911 caller reported seeing Laundrie slapping Petito. Their subsequent interactions with police were captured by body cameras. In speaking with protesters outside her home on Monday, Cassie Laundrie said that Brian had come back home to Florida in mid-August to close the storage space that the couple had. Laundrie has not been seen since allegedly leaving his parents' Northport, Florida home for a hike on September 13th. And then this goes on to talk about the search, which I'll get into later. But what are your guys' thoughts about like the whole trip home in the middle? I mean, they just had this horrible incident in Moab. And I say horrible because when you think of a narcissist and you think, first of all, when the cops are involved, I've been in this situation. You don't want cops involved at all. The narcissist does not, because he's afraid of what could possibly come out, what could be said. And, you're warned, don't say this, don't mention that. So I imagine, and this is just my theory, my speculation, like just from being in the situation myself before, that things probably escalated after that stop in Moab. And so I wonder why only 5 days later, after the 12th, did he fly home without her? And, if you watch the full body cam footage, she didn't seem like the type, like she didn't want to be alone. She was terrified of the fact that she had to be separated from him that night that they separated them. So for her to be left in a hotel for 5 days, it just makes me wonder, like, what was really the purpose of him flying home in the middle of all that? Right. That's what I'm saying, Kristen. Like, what was really going on with the storage unit? I did see one video that apparently the locker and all that was cleared, but it's just something that was never really talked about much after. Why would they allow Gabby to stay put and put Brian up? Makes no sense. Yeah, because if you watch the full body cam footage, Sophie, and trust me, it's out there. If you can Google it, you can type it in on YouTube. It's out there. It's an hour and something long, but they pretty much decide that Brian was the aggressor and that Gabby was the victim, only because of like the situation where she admits that she hit him first, and you just have to watch the whole footage. They came to that conclusion and they drove him to a hotel or a motel and told Gabby she could, take the van, and they just had to kind of stay separated for the night. Like the officer in the footage he makes a suggestion. So it wasn't like a order. It wasn't like anything official. He just was like, I suggest you guys separate for the night. Don't contact each other. Don't text each other. This needs to happen. So I've always had the question of, did they end up texting that night? When did Brian actually leave the motel? Did they end up meeting back up before the next day? Like I've always had some of those questions. And like I said, there is an investigation into the whole Moab incident, so we might find out more about that later. Michael says, seen a video of them at the restaurant. Gabby's boyfriend was supposedly from another country as a prince of the high. I don't know about that, Michael. I'm not sure about that one. She was clearly given signs of DV and they put his butt in a hotel. Right. That made me so mad, Kristen, because all of the red flags are there. But that's why I think and hope that this investigation into their department, and just this whole situation in general, that they start implementing a team of people that are able to recognize a DV situation, have someone that can tag along with the police in like these DV situations, that maybe can pull, each person aside and have talks and try to really figure out what's going on to really get to the bottom of it. Because I think if y'all recall correctly, had they done and followed the law and arrested. So, okay, so they were saying that Gabby was the aggressor. So if they would have followed through with their law and like actually arrested her, then the parents said that they would have flown to Utah to pick their daughter up. So it's just frustrating that they didn't recognize the signs, first of all. And then second, if you're going to, call her the aggressor and him the victim, I just think that if they would have arrested her, then maybe she would have called her parents. And I also believe it did come out that she was indeed on the phone with her mom at one point. And if you watch the footage, they do make a note of her being on the phone. So I really truly believe that they would have gone and got their daughter. No problems. Like no questions asked, they would have went. Yeah. I mean, just when they initially got her out of the van and the way she was trembling and shaking, like she's hyperventilating. She's having a panic attack. And then they go on, and he's out there being a charmer, uh getting them to laugh about whatever, and just being this cool guy who has nothing's wrong here, like she's the crazy one. And that's what he was making it seem like she's the one she's OCD and all this other stuff, when it was actually a narcissist and a DV situation going on. It makes 0 sense. The price to travel back would have been more than keeping the unit a few months longer, right? Because that's obviously a last minute ticket purchased to fly back. And then I always wonder, like, did he leave her without her keys? Maybe without her money? I'm not saying that happened, because I don't know. That's never been put out. I don't know that. That's just things that I've always questioned. Because, her dad ordered her pizza one night, and she didn't really like to venture out or go out on her own. So either way, I just don't understand why he left her alone in a hotel for 5 days. Yes, Kristen, exactly. Taking her to the station to chat with her more and get to a safe place to freely speak to her family by phone without him anywhere around. I agree. And that's what I think they need. I think that they need like a team of people who are trained to recognize the signs of DV, that can assist the officers in calls like this, where they can make these choices, and they can be like, hey, so I'm noticing this, and this is how we're going to move forward. And maybe it could be handled in a much better way. Good, Kristen. But I found something rather interesting. Hold on, let me see if Stifa dropped that yet. Okay, thank you, Stifa. All right. Stop sharing, and I'm gonna find this article because I was like, what? Okay. So this was August 24th of last year, 2022. The Moab officer responding to controversial Gabby Petito Brian Laundrie domestic violence call is now a detective. So Eric Pratt, Officer Pratt, that was on the scene, is now a detective. I don't know I'm gonna look at the documents here that Sifa dropped me in a minute. But whenever I came across this, I was like, he was one of the main ones that was making the calls, and now he's a detective. They could have arrested them both or at least one, right? Okay, Sif, I'm getting to it. The whole leaving her for the 5 days may have been him messing with her head, as in, watch, I promise I'm leaving you. And unfortunately, the love bombing and brainwashing the narcissist puts another through. That's a very good observation. I did wonder if he, maybe was like, I need a break or this might not work, so I'm flying home. But then I think, she maybe would have verbally said that to her parents, being that she's left, across the country and alone. I think that she might have said something to her parents, or maybe she just, like you said, maybe it was just she stayed in communication with him and they had to like work through their problems, and he maybe was like, okay, fine, I'll come back home. Like we never know. We really, really do not know what happened. Yeah, Tracy, I do wonder. That's what I always wonder about. Okay, I'm gonna star these comments. But yeah, Kristen. Yeah, so it says one of the two Moab, Utah police officers who responded to the August 2021 domestic call involving Gabby and Brian, which prompted an independent investigation and a $50 million lawsuit against the department, is now a detective. He was the senior officer on the scene after police pulled over Laundry on August 12th. The department posted a picture on its Facebook page last week showing Pratt at an event with Detective E. Pratt embroidered into his shirt. So I just thought that was interesting because he is now a detective. And now I am going to pull up the documents that Sifa shared with me. I'll try to get them in order. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is the city of Moab, Utah. Statement on the August 12th Moab police officer interaction with Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. Let me move this comment out the way. Hey, Gregory, welcome in. If I missed anyone coming in, I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. Okay, so the death of Gabrielle Petito in Wyoming is a heartbreaking tragedy, and all of us are deeply saddened to learn the outcome of the nationwide effort to locate her. Our sincere condolences go out to the Petito family. With the weeks-long search for Miss Petito across the western U.S., news that a call to Grand County Dispatch on August 12th reported a possible domestic dispute between Miss Petito and Brian Laundrie here in Moab has naturally led to questions from the media and the public about the call. During the past week, our police officers have been both praised and criticized for their response and their resolution of the incident involving Miss Petito and Mr. Laundrie. The Moab City Police Department has clear standards for officer conduct during a possible domestic dispute, and our officers are trained to follow those standards and protocol. Okay, no, I don't know how well they're trained if that statement would be true because they didn't recognize the signs. At this time, the city of Moab is unaware of any breach of police department policy during this incident. However, the city will conduct a formal investigation and, based on the results, will take any next steps that may be appropriate. We understand that individuals can view the same situation in very different ways, and we recognize how the death of Miss Petito more than 2 weeks later in Wyoming might lead to speculation in hindsight about actions taken during the incident in Moab. The purpose of the city's formal investigation is to gather the underlying facts and evidence necessary to make a thorough, informed evaluation of such actions. Ultimately, we depend on our law enforcement officers to make the best possible decisions in evaluating every incident individually based on the circumstances they encounter in that immediate moment. We also appreciate the assistance in this incident from cooperating rangers with the National Park Service. And keep in mind, there is that one park ranger that was on scene, the female, and I think that there are requests out that people have put in FOIA requests for her body cam footage, but I've heard that they don't have body cam, so I'm not sure how that works. But it would be nice to get that if it does exist, because she spoke to Gabby one-on-one. I would like to hear the interaction and wonder, why certain steps weren't taken, if there was a conversation where Gabby admitted maybe something along the lines of, like that she was afraid or things were escalating, anything of that nature. The Moab City Police Department will make all information from this incident available to the law enforcement agencies investigating Ms. Petito's death. Moab Police will also make sure our officers are available to answer any questions those investigating agencies may have. Oh, this one's tiny. Okay, let's see. All right, let me get back to chat real quick. Okay, it's my ex's sister called the police because he had a weapon to. Oh, Haley, I'm sorry. He refused to cooperate unless he could drive to take himself. Yeah, see, that's tough situations. I'm sorry that you went through that, Haley. Sorry, y'all. I'm just behind. Not always. Fear makes things like outreaching for help super difficult. I agree, Denali. It does. I've been there. It definitely does. Gosh, I'm so behind. If I missed y'all's comments, I promise. I do see them. I can't get to all of them right now. I'd like to see if anyone was on the flight there or back from Florida and see how he was acting. Never heard anyone saying they saw him on the flight. Right. The only thing that we did hear was that they were able to obtain the records that he did purchase the round trip. I don't know if it was round trip or if it was 2 separate tickets. I don't want to misquote anything in this case. But that he did definitely take a flight back to Florida and on the 17th, and then returned to Salt Lake on the 23rd, in which they checked out on the 24th. If y'all want the full 102-page Moab investigation, I can make. Yeah, Sifa, that would be amazing, because it is. I was reading it earlier, and it's very detailed, and it has a lot of information in there, and I think a lot of people would like to see that, Sifa, so that would be awesome. Oh, hey, Michaela. Thank you for being here. Oh, yeah, we have a huge time difference. I'm glad that you're able to make it. Okay, Sifa, I'll check it. Yeah, the want for control and to manipulate only gets worse with most people like that. Okay, so 4 pages that I'm going to be showing are the officer's statements. So let's see. Let me get this one out the way. Don't confuse myself with all these tabs I have open. Okay. Whoa, that's too much.
And the page numbers are at the top right.
Okay, I got you. Thank you. It won't go any closer than this, unfortunately. I don't know why. I can either super zoom. That's it. Okay, so you said these are the officers' statements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh yeah. So well, this might be the
Like
guy who
it's a
called in.
report.
Right. Okay. So this one is from the statement I read earlier. Chris, I would say. Oh, that one. Okay. Let's see the next one. Make sure it's two. All right. So this was retrieved September 15th. So this is after, but okay. So it talks about her van occurred August 12th, 4:30 p.m. through 6:04 p.m. The crime, disorderly conduct. The reporting officers was Eric Pratt and Daniel Scott Robbins. So Eric Pratt on 8/12/21, MCPD officers were dispatched to a report of a domestic problem that had taken place near the Moonflower Co-op. It appeared that a male and female had left the scene traveling north on Main in a white Ford Transit van with a black ladder on the rear after the male and female had engaged in some sort of altercation. It wasn't clear, but I believe it was reported the male had been observed to have assaulted the female. I heard other officers report they were off to look for the vehicle. And being that I had to pass the Moonflower in order to get to Main Street, I stopped there to see if any witnesses were still in the area. I found one identified as Chris. I took down his phone number and left the scene because I heard Officer Robbins tell dispatch he located the suspect vehicle near the turn to Arches National Park. I heard him state that upon initiating a traffic stop, he'd observed the vehicle leave its lane and strike the curb before stopping near the entrance to the park. And then we have this one. And this one's very long. So let me catch up on chat real quick. So many don't believe the abuse is actually occurring because the narcissist wears their mini mask so very well. Yep, that's very true. So for you, the real MVP, though. Um, I'm not sure. You probably have to request them, Michaela. Yeah, right there you go. This is very true too about the narcissists. They make you question yourself so heavily sometimes the victims don't even feel like they're a victim. Right. You feel like you're doing something wrong. Like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I always getting treated this way? Why can't I get anything right? Like, you start believing the lies that the narcissist tells you. Sophie, so what are you asking? Think about why would someone call that in and then what happened? Um, I mean, they witnessed, a possible DV incident going on. And when they left the scene of the Moonflower, the caller was probably concerned for the safety of the female, so that's why they would have called it in. I would probably do the same thing. I mean, I would have to do the same thing. You never know what could happen. And like I said, I think after this incident, it escalated. Like, things escalated. Agreed, and even more, even getting a restraining order 99% of the time only angers the abuser more, placing increased danger to the victim. Yeah, that that is true. All right, so going on from Pratt. He arrived on scene and observed as two park officers also arrived. He assisted Officer Robbins with his investigation until I was called away to a report of an intoxicated male near MRH posing a safety risk to himself or others. Before leaving, I spoke with the male driver of the van, the female passenger, and also called Chris to get more information from him. All three individuals gave me a similar and consistent story, consisting of the basic idea that the driver of the van, a male, had some sort of argument with the female, Gabby, as I recall. The male tried to create distance by telling Gabby to go and take a walk to calm down. She didn't want to be separated from the male and began slapping him. He grabbed her face and pushed her back as she pressed upon him in the van. He tried to lock her out and succeeded except for his driver's door. She opened that and forced her way over him and into the vehicle before it drove off. So that tells me, yeah, it was pretty bad. And it seems like he was trying to leave her behind. Like that, just. No one reported that the male struck the female. Both the male and the female reported they are in love and engaged to be married and desperately didn't wish to see anyone charged with a crime. There were no significant injuries reported, and both agreed that, and this was redacted out, appeared that this incident was more accurately categorized as a mental emotional health break than a domestic assault. I had to leave, but I understand that Officer Robbins got the male lodging through Seahaven. Gabby retained possession of the van, and they agreed to separate for the night. No charges were filed, and no one wished for charges to be filed or for the separation to take place, although that was at minimum what Officer Robbins required in lieu of making a case against Gabby for domestic assault. Gabby is a 22-year-old female who is approximately 5'2" to 5'4" and 110 to 120 pounds, while her fiance is older, taller, and much heavier than her. He had no fear for his safety and did not exhibit any indicators that he may be a victim of battered boyfriend syndrome. So then why did they claim he was the victim? He was assessed to be at low risk of danger or harm as a result of his proximity to his fiancée Gabby. Nothing further. And then you have the other officer's statement. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Haley. If they believed the phone story, they knew that it was a DV situation. And in his statement, he says that Brian did not appear to be a victim. So then why at the end of the call did they make this, they said she's the aggressor and he's the victim. Okay, Jim J, take care. Love you. Okay, Officer Robbins. So at approximately 6:44, is that right? No, 4:44. I'm sorry, 4:44. I responded to a possible DV in progress call. A van with both male and female occupants was reported leaving the area of 39 East 100 northbound on Main Street. One of the witnesses described the vehicle as a white Ford Transit van with a black letter on the rear with Florida license plate and the number. Witness Christopher reported seeing a male, later identified as Brian Laundrie, and a female, later identified as Gabby Petito, arguing over a phone. Christopher stated that, okay, so we went over that. He saw what appeared to him as Gabby hitting Brian in the arm and then climbing through the driver's window as if Brian had locked her out and she was trying to find a way in. I located a white van that matched the description on North Main at the Highway 128 turnoff. After I crossed the bridge, I was able to catch up to the van at the turnoff to Arches National Park. I confirmed the license plate and initiated the stop. I followed the vehicle as it continued towards the entrance gate to Arches National Park. I noted the van traveling approximately 45 miles per hour in the 15 mile per hour speed zone. After I had activated my lights to initiate a traffic stop, I watched the van cross the double yellow dividing line in lane 1, merged to lane 2, and abruptly swerved to the right. When the vehicle swerved, both the front and rear passenger side wheels hit the curb. A short distance before the entrance gate, the vehicle came to a stop. I approached the vehicle and saw the only occupants being Gabby and Brian. Gabby, who was in the passenger seat, was crying uncontrollably. I asked her to get out of the vehicle to speak with me. She told me that she suffers from, and they redacted that. She continued because of her um, something and something combined with little arguments that she and Brian had been having that day. She was struggling, which led to the incident that was reported to law enforcement. Gabrielle stated that when they saw his lights, she hit Brian in the arm to get his attention, which in turn caused him to hit the curb while I was following them. I asked Gabby if her intention was to hurt Brian, and her response was that she did not intend to hurt him, but rather get his attention to notice me as I was behind them with my lights on. At no point in my investigation did Gabby stop crying, breathing heavily, or compose a sentence without needing to wipe away tears, wipe her nose, or rub her knees with her hands. That is so heartbreaking. So she was crying the entire time. She was clearly in distress. So frustrating. Right, Denali? Only mental what's going on with him. Okay, I missed some comments. I'm trying to see what Haley was responding to. It wasn't just one call. There were two different 911 calls with two different witnesses. Right? Exactly. And the callers are not even one of the involved. No reason to question it being a false call situation. For real, they had two separate calls, and clearly when you can sit there and say in a statement that she couldn't stop crying, um mhm, that she didn't stop crying. She couldn't, like, she was breathing heavily the entire time, and she couldn't compose a sentence without needing to wipe away tears, wipe her nose, or rub her knees. She is in clear distress at that point. Tell us you didn't do your job without telling, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand how they didn't do more. But all I can say at the end of all this is just I'm glad they're being investigated. I think that there is a aren't the parents like looking to sue them, a civil suit against them. All right, I'm gonna finish reading the last one real quick. All right, so after he sat Gabby in the back seat, I'll read it in like it's him. After I sat Gabby in the backseat of my car, I asked Brian to step out of the vehicle to speak with me. He told me they both suffer from, and although her is more advanced than his, issues between the two have been building over the last few days. So it had actually been building up and escalating before this stop. So this stop probably made it 10 times worse. This in turn caused them to argue more than usual. Brian told me neither he nor Gabby took medication for their, I'm just going to say mental health issues because I think that's what they're alluding to, but I'm not completely sure. But they did say that it ended up being a mental health crisis. Brian explained he and Gabby have been traveling together for the last 4 or 5 months. That time spent created emotional strain between them and it increased the number of arguments. While arguing near Main Street, he had attempted to separate from her in so that he could both calm their emotions. He got into their van and Gabby had gone into a manic state. Wow. So he actually was blaming her and saying that she was going into a manic state. I mean, she was probably freaking out because he was trying to leave her there. My speculation. Brian said Gabby thinking he was going to leave her. Brian said Gabby thinking he was going to leave her in Moab without a ride, went to slap him. As Gabby started to swing, Brian pushed her away to avoid the slap. As a result, Gabby, off balance, but still caught Brian's face with some fingers, causing some minor visible scratches. So, see, there's contradiction right there in Brian's story because he tells this officer that it's from her scratching his face, but yet in the other statement, he said she got him with her phone. I mean, a phone's not going to scratch like that. I figured it was her scratching him. Brian continued that when he had seen my lights, he thought Gabrielle had grabbed the wheel of the van and pulled it, causing the van to hit the curb. I observed some small scratches to Brian's right arm, and when I asked him about them, he supposed they must have happened when Gabby was trying to get his attention about me being behind them with my lights on. This, however, was not consistent with Gabby's statement, further suggesting her confused and emotional state. Wow. So this officer was just automatically summing it up to she had a manic episode, she was in a confused state of mind, didn't know what she was talking about, kind of thing. Like, that infuriates me. I'm glad they're being investigated. Just saying. Yep. The parents are, Sarasova, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it found the officer himself had prior situations of DV or had been accused? I know in the full thing I was reading, it was said that, like, one of the officers was telling Brian that, like, his wife had these issues, and she was on medication for it, and like disclosing his own personal information and personal experience to this situation. I don't know about if he himself had DV issues, but I mean, wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, so Sifa said yes. I could be incorrect, but I'm wanting to say I'd read something or saw something in regards to the civil suit that mentions the officer. Yeah, it could be. And it's a huge document. It's a lot of pages, so yeah, definitely could be in there. Right, so there's your bias and lack of action. Right. He was siding with Brian because he believed Brian. Obviously, when Brian is telling him, "Oh, she's just in a manic state. Oh, she's just emotional. She has mental health issues," and just blaming it all on her, pretty much. All right, so where did I, okay. After evaluating the totality of the circumstances, I do not believe the situation escalated to the level of a domestic assault as much as that of a mental health crisis. I then determined the most appropriate course of action would be to help separate the parties for the night so they could reset their mental states without interference from one another. And although they did express a desire to remain together, they both ultimately agreed to be separated until the following day. Accordingly, I was able to contact Safe Haven and get Brian a hotel room for the night. I instructed both Brian and Gabby to take advantage of this time apart to relax their emotions. So and so also asked them to avoid contacting each other until the next morning, if at all possible. Gabby maintained possession of the van while I transported Brian to the hotel. They did both have their own cell phones in case of emergency. Around 1900 hours, so that's what, 7 o'clock? Yeah, I uh went to this location where witness Christopher lived and had him fill out a statement form. Christopher told me that he was not entirely sure what it is he had seen, but feared the worst, which is why he came forward as a witness and agreed to complete a written statement. And that is the statement that I showed you guys earlier. And so this says that the body cam video is available on evidence.com. So it's there, but I mean, it's everywhere. If you Google it, you can find it. The statement form from Christopher has been filed at Moab City Police Department. So yeah, so that was all of the officers' statements. Yeah, clearly he did. He said he was going to call the other 911 caller and he never did. I think he does call him because if you watch the full body cam footage, there is a time where the officers do separate and he does go back to call, and I think it is caught on the body cam. Let me see if I can find this for y'all. Okay, I'm not gonna show it or anything, but so on this link you can find the first body cam footage that came out. And then this is the link for the second body cam footage that was released. Oh, Michaela, have a good one. It was good to see you. So yeah, those are the links if you guys want to watch. I mean, the first one I think is an hour and something long. I don't know how long the second one is, but yeah, it's all in there. That link that Sifa left for me puts it together for the officer and his history. Oh. Is that what you sent me, Sifa? The same thing? Like the full thing? Oh, thank you. I have to go grab it on that side. Oh, wow. Huh. That's interesting. So this was published November 2nd of 2022. The lead cop on Gabby Petito 911 call accused of DV himself. A Utah woman says her extramarital affair ended with death threats. Wow. I didn't know this. Thank you for sharing this, Sifa. A Utah woman claims she received death threats from a former police chief who resigned from his job and later played a prominent role as a patrol officer in the 2021 traffic stop of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. He has no business being a effing cop, the woman, who has asked not to have her name published out of concern for her safety, told Fox News Digital. She was talking about Eric Pratt. So then my question is, why is he now a detective? Ugh. She was talking about Eric Pratt, one of two Moab police officers who interacted with Petito and Laundrie in the entranceway to Arches National Park just 2 weeks before her death in Wyoming. She is accusing him of telling her he'd smash her with a crowbar after she threatened to go public. Trigger warning, y'all. After she threatened to go public with sultry details of their 2017 affair. That is disgusting. If the officer responding to Gabby's situation is an abuser himself who would threaten a girlfriend's life, it makes sense why he believed Gabby's abuser and ignored her injuries. Nicole Schmidt, Petito's mother, told Fox News Wednesday, "With him in charge, I don't think Gabby stood a chance." That is freaking heartbreaking. The handling of the Petito Laundrie call resulted in no arrests or citations despite a Utah law requiring such actions following DV incidents, prompted an independent investigation that faulted the officers for unintentional mistakes after they deemed Petito, not Laundrie, to be the aggressor. The Utah woman said she contacted attorneys for Petito's parents after learning Pratt had been promoted to detective and made a school resource officer in Moab. Oh, wow. Okay, so he's detective and he works as a school resource officer. He had resigned from his role as Salina police chief in 2017, according to a letter he wrote at the time. She says the move came after she confronted the mayor about his alleged mistreatment of her. This is so heartbreaking. She was so. In 2017, the woman said she was going through a divorce and Pratt was still married to the ex wife he mentions on body cam video during a conversation with Laundry. The two had known each other for years and began a sexual relationship which that morphed into an emotional friendship, she said. At one point, she said her conscience caught up with her and she disclosed her affair and other alleged tries to Pratt's then wife. They had a contentious falling out, she said, and she told the mayor to get him to leave her alone or she'd go public with the affair in intimate details. I had already gone to the mayor. He was preparing to resign, she said. It had been about 2 weeks since they last spoke, and she was shopping at Walmart with her daughter when she ran into him. He followed her out of the parking lot to a gas station in Richfield, she said, flashing the lights of his personal vehicle behind her. He went to the back seat and started talking to my daughter, telling her how adults don't always see eye to eye, but in the end, hopefully everybody can be friends. Then he went in, bought the girl some candy. He came around to my window and told me that if anything ever got out, he'd kill me with a crowbar. About a year later, she claimed he asked her to meet him at a Denny's restaurant. She did, and they had a long talk, and she left with peace of mind. I didn't have to be looking over my shoulder anymore, anything like that, she said. Okay, open the door and let him out.
Then the food's done.
Okay, thank you. But she said he allegedly made another alarming statement during the conversation. Had this been the day prior, there would have been a grave dug and you would have been in it. Oh, man, what? I asked him what changed his mind about not wanting to kill me anymore, and he said he had decided that it wasn't me that had ruined his life. It was one of the other girls that he had an affair with, she claimed. Pratt did not respond to a request for comment. That is disgusting. Hi, Evie. Welcome in. Just imagine how much his bias could hinder his investigations if this was a typical type of report or call in Gabby's case, right? I just don't see him now. He's a detective and he works with the schools. Like, that's alarming. Oh my gosh. Okay, how long have I been live for? Almost 2 hours. Jeez. But I do want to continue talking about Gabby's story, and I knew it was gonna, you know, be probably be broken down into several lives. Just because there's so much in her case, so many things happen. Let me see. One of the things I wanted to show. Okay, so again, that was on September 23rd, which we know that the Laundries reported their son missing on September 17th, and said that he had left on September 13th to go on a hike. So, like I said, there's a lot of information, and I do want to fully cover her story. So I think I'm going to end it right here because I want to go back to Red, White, and Bethune's footage of when they were in the Teton National Park and they caught on their GoPro, their video of the van. I want to cover that. I also eventually we're going to get to, like the search for Brian and then the things that came out afterwards, like, well, when the parents miraculously found the dry bag and all of those events unfolded, the notebook and its contents, the letter that was found. I want to cover all of those things. So I will announce when I do my second live. Today's Tuesday, maybe Friday, Thursday or Friday, I can do like a part 2 and we can go over all of that. Sifa does have the contents of the notebook. Most people have already seen it, but we can go over it. I did find also a transcript of it to where like the first page is really the only page that's kind of like really hard to read, but the rest of the pages you can pretty much make out everything that's on it. But I do want to go over all of that with you. Hello, Yin, welcome. Okay, I have some comments stored. Let's see. Oh, yeah, so whenever the law about law enforcement in Utah, have you seen the videos posted on YouTube of them unaliving young men? Season one of them unaliving a young man sitting in his car. What? That's disturbing, Greg. I hadn't heard about that. And I agree with this. He should never be on the force, period, much less a detective. Like, that doesn't sit right with me at all. It is, Michael. Her story is very, very sad. But I will say that when her parents say that she touched this world, she really, really did. Before y'all go, I did want to show a couple of pictures. Let me grab them real quick. I know I have them. Where? I don't know. Thank you, Haley. Thank you for being here. And yes, I will definitely continue to talk about her story, the rest of her story. It needs to be told. I think it's important. So I have these pictures, and these were August 12th. So this is the same day as the stop. And this was her at the arches. Oh, I like how it's automatically scrolling for me. And then there's this one. There's this one. I think she's so gorgeous. And I'm so glad that she was able to travel, because she did enjoy traveling and she got to see some amazing places, even though the circumstances are not all that great. Yeah, it's not showing. Hold on. Sorry. I guess I got to do my entire screen like this. So there's this one I was looking at. And this one. And I'll just leave that one on the screen for now. Oh, I can't do that camera screen. Dang it. Technical issues. Sorry, y'all. I DM'd you an article with a bunch of pictures in it. Okay. The last one with, hold on, let me bring it up. Oh, these are interesting. Okay, I'll save these for the next ones if I'm gonna add it to my bookmarks, because it has to do with whenever they were searching for him and FBI showed up at his home and all of that stuff. She definitely had a light about her that made people feel safe and loved when around her. Brian did not deserve her. I can't agree with you more, Kristen. She definitely had a light. She was very photogenic. Okay, so my email is pinned at the top if anyone needs to reach me for anything. And then, do I have syphilis? I don't even know. Is it Gmail or Yahoo? I can't remember.
Email.
I don't know why I thought Yahoo. What the hell? All right, and I'm gonna drop a couple of creators that we follow that are amazing. Who else I have? Haley. Haley, if you're still here, you can type the word link drop, but I'll I have one for you, so I'll drop it for you. But anytime a creator is in here, if you have a channel, you type the word link drop, all one word, all lowercase, it'll automatically drop your channel. Naturally beautiful. She's still helping others even in her death. Yes. All right, this is the last thing I'm going to show. What is in it? What is this thing doing? Okay, for those who might not know, everybody pretty much knows, but GabbyPetitoFoundation.org is the name of the site that the parents created in memory of her. And like I said, it has so many resources and different ways of getting in touch with them. They have a merch shop. They have different media and different things that they've done to help with DV and missing persons. So again, this is GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. And there's just a link for that. My son is giving me a look like I need to get off of here. So, all right, I'm going to go have dinner. Good night, Evie. Have a good evening. And like I said, I'll let you guys know on my community posts if I'll do it on Thursday or Friday. So I will let you guys know, and we'll continue talking about Gabby's story. All right. Thank you, Sifa, for being up here. Thank you for all the information.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have a great night. See you next time.
Good night.
Good night. Stay blessed.